time I was applauded that much upon my honeymoon.
I'm sorry, Dr. Cabot, I had to say one. Just one.
I'm not going to just say a few words, and I don't really care if it runs over or not, since I'm one of this distinguished guests. It took me till 2 o'clock in the morning after Jay's dinner last night. And this is a very humbling experience for me, at least. And I really appreciate it wholeheartedly. I'm really moved. And I'm not very emotional about things, but when Jay and me came up with this, I never thought this would happen. This turned out, these words. Thank you very much. Now let's get down to business. I'm not going to thank Ming and Jay again because everyone's done it over and over again. But where's my waiter? I think what we're missing is we've got to also thank 2 other people. And I want Janty to come on up here and Sue.
Yes.
You know, they had to put up with an awful lot over the last 3 months, I guess. Oh yeah, well you had. That's for you. It's always good women behind good men. For those that missed dinner last night, you missed a good meal. I'm sure the brunch is going to be just as good. Sue was also the financier, kept track of everything, so thank you. If there was any success to our program, and if I could be humble enough to say I think I was part of some of it, as outlined by the author, it's because I tried to surround myself with people who were smarter than me, and people who were willing to work as hard as me. And it made my job relatively easy. You know, I was fortunate. There's 2, Otto, Grace. Grace was my mother's superior. Every time I moved a little bit too much to the right, she'd tap me on the shoulder and say, Otto, well, what can I say about Otto? Best pediatrician I ever met, the most humble man I ever met, the best pediatric cardiologist I ever met. And we don't forget those things, but enough of that. I also don't think this is just for the faculty. This is also for you fellows. I don't know if you know what you've really accomplished, but we always had an open door relationship with our fellows, entire faculty. And what you accomplished as a group over the 40 years, and if I first have to apologize because I know what the fellows have done very well for the first 25, 30 years that I was director, and I really didn't keep up with the fellows since the year 2000. So I apologize to you for not sewing well, but let me give you a few examples. In the first 25 years of the fellowship, you fellows were part of 3 chapters that were published, 1 monograph. You published 34 original articles in Circulation Research, American Heart Journal, etc., and 46 abstracts. That's something that all we did as faculty was open the door for you. You went through it, and you people did it. Now, my style, I pushed a few of you. Where's Macro? He needed the pushing. But you saw what you people have done, as was presented by Drs. Coley, Fournier, and everybody else. Who's number 3? Right. And who? I tried to forget him already. Leave me alone. You keep reminding me. As I said in the past, and a few other people, there was not one day that I ever regretted getting up in the morning and coming to work. until I left pediatric cardiology. And the last 10 years have been tough. But I think that the way the day started is unusual. I would come in at 7:30. I would see Vivian. Where's Vivian? It was like, mention your names, you got to stand up. Vivian Hickson had put up with me for over 20 years as my, quote, secretary, administrator, anything else you want to call her. She basically ran the division. You also got to remember that historically, 1973, when we came down from Columbia, a bunch of us, and we had a training program there. I said, my God, we need a training program. So I conned Jackson to give me one fellow a year for 3 years. Then we went to 2 fellows. Then we got a training grant in electrophysiology. We had another additional 2 fellows. So we grew annually, and you gave us as much as we gave you. Teaching you was easy. You didn't know anything in pediatric cardiology. I mean, you know, there's a few of you still don't, right, Marco? That's what you get for sitting next to the camera. Where do we get to her? But anyway. We had the first, 1974, we got approved for the program from Jackson, and Lenore Zies became our first faculty, quote, fellowship interaction. She had been at Jackson for a couple years before that, so she sort of knew what she was getting into, but not totally. Let me tell you what these people did. Pick off you've heard of, and there's many accolades that go for him. He was hired after his fellowship, and he basically started our pharmacodynamic program in the lab. And many of your publications, which I will get to in a minute, actually originated with his mentorship. It was just, again, he was good enough to continue the tradition of training fellows the way they should be. If you look at what you really accomplished, Dr. Zies, 73, 74, 75, first person to indicate the use of indomethacin in the pre-metaclosa ductus is basically gestational dependent. I don't even know if she remembers this, working with Jeannie McCarthy. No one else in the country, they don't just give indomethacin PDA, but the older neonates didn't respond. If I miss anybody, please let me know. Meta, first one to show atrial fibrillation flutter in patients with WPW. Today's a scary thing in the adults, scary thing in kids too, but he was the first one to systemic, who are you? Ashok, stand up. Where you hiding? I don't know if he probably doesn't remember this either, but he's the first one in the country to show that this phenomenon exists in kids. Singh, he basically spent 6 years in Minnesota but wanted to do electrophysiology. But we were smart enough to say, no, you're going to do electropharmacology. That started a whole trend, as Arthur indicated. Paper after paper. We were using propafenone. We were using amiodarone. I'm talking about 1982, 83, 84, in the immature animal. And manuscript after manuscript came out. Costa, first one to look at multiple AV nodal pathways. Young, well, Arthur put it up, but what you really want to read is the Rosenbluth hypothesis paper. I bet you there's not a fellow here that remembers what the Rosenbluth hypothesis of the AV node is. Who knows what it is? Come on, fellows, especially since 1985. Does anyone know what it is? Don't feel bad, because after I read Ming's paper 5, 6, 7 times before it was published, I still didn't know what it is. He's shaking his head yes. You know, as far as I'm concerned, it could have been in Chinese and I would have done just as well. Pat Sharon, digitalis antibody. Where's Pat? Oh, there it is. Digitalis antibody. When's the last time one of you fellas ever used digitalis antibody? Nobody, but we used an awful lot of ditch in those days. And we made a lot of kids ditch toxic. And we were the only ones south of Philadelphia, I believe, who had digitalis antibody, and we cured digital toxicity within minutes. She's the first one to ever report it. Mia Fani is not here. First one to report uses Sodalol, Profafenone. All these drugs that you're using today in the immature animal, etc. Annie, Bethanidine. You remember those days? Same thing with Bethanidine. Jay. You may not notice, but Jay, after he went through his fellowship, he was hired. He went to the lab. Calcium fluxes. Nobody ever mentions that anymore. The pulmonary artery, first one ever to look at the pulmonary artery as part of the cardiac system and measuring fluxes. And then hopefully it was gone. But as we also listened to our faculty, and why we surrounded ourselves with smarter people, was that Jay said after a while, I can't do this anymore. What do you want to do, Jay? I want to go to Boston and learn something about pushing coils around and closing things and opening things. I said, sure, go ahead. You know, he did. He came back, and what year, even though Dr. Chambers did the first balloon of the pulmonary valve after Gene Kahn presented it back in the early 80s, that's as far as we really went until Jay came back and started a true interventional program that moved along. And I was smart enough to take a phone call from Taiwan one day. Who is it? Hey, what do you want, babe? I want to come home. Come on home. Again, your ideas, ex-fellow's ideas. It was the smartest thing that, as far as I'm concerned, the smartest thing he ever thought of was coming back and joining us and developing a true program in cardiac electrophysiology. Again, the first one. Matty Moss here. Matty Moss really was one of the world's experts on vasoactive peptides. Nobody knows what those are anymore. Who knows? What fellow knows what a vasoactive peptide is? 4 papers in 18 months, Circulation, Journal of Physiology, of vasoactive peptides on the effect of the heart. I mean, all these things were what you gave our program and made it what it is, as Arthur described. Now, we come to the hard part. I was up till about 1:45 last night after leaving Jay's house. And what I can't find the words, I can't verbalize well what the program meant to, what we meant to you and what you people meant to us. So I thought I'd use some examples about this relationship. As I look around the room, I had the pleasure of being the best man at one of your weddings. I'm not talking, you know. I remember being invited to many other weddings. I remember the birth of your children, but most of them were born in Jackson. Maddie holds that record, by the way. I never knew she was normal, you know. I'm not going there, Sharon. No. Maddie's mother, Maddie lived about 10 blocks from me. And I used to go there, play with her kids, talk to her mother. And the relationship that we had is that when her father died, her mother took the father's watch and gave it to me. Because of, quote, how I helped Maddie in doing other things. I still have that watch to this day. Sharon Kaminer. We've had a few significant tragedies in our department on both sides of the fellowship, as well as the faculty. And one of our faculty members' family needed blood. Sharon said, I'm not giving blood. She never gave blood. Stick a big needle in her arm, but she went right down. I think of the 6 units we needed, 5 were given by fellows. You know, that doesn't happen in those programs that Arthur said. When I was having surgery, the last person to come see me the night before surgery was Eloina and Otto. I mean, I had my tonsils out. A little bit more than that. Otto said, I want you to have this. Took off his St. Christopher's medal, gave it to me. I want it back, but you keep it until you're ready to go home. Yeah. Grace was my mother's superior. As I said, if I stepped out of line, she'd tap me on the shoulder. I think she's still doing it. In fact, more now than ever. Tala, stand up, Tala. It was not just faculty and fellows. Tala worked with our department for many, many years after she worked in the ICU. You can sit down now.
I don't know.
Everyone saw your blonde hair that you had there. Bruce Brown was our first patient who ever had a transplant. Typical Afro-American from the inner city, never took his meds, rejection, hospitalization meds, etc. Tyler came to me and said, we got to do something. I said, what do you want to do? Give him a job. We gave him a job in our department. After school, Tyler gave him his 3 o'clock meds, didn't send him home till Tyler went home, got his 6 o'clock meds. Tyler got it. And one of our families needed hospice care. Tyler sold everything that person needed from the hospital, went an hour out of her way to drop it off. That's what we were all about. I can go on and on and on. I guess I should end up by saying, Perriman, not a fellow, but our relationship also with surgeons was very tight, as Arthur said. 2 things. I have to say it, Sharon, I'm sorry. Perriman's birthday party, which I went to. What are you laughing, Cass? Do you remember that one too? It was in the Grove at one of his hippie friends, older guy. Enough said, right, Cass? That's the other. The other one's even better. He used to live at Quayside, right down the block, or right up the block. And I used to date a lady from Quayside. And I walk up one day to go there. He's in her room, in her apartment. Wait a minute. She's got her tuchus exposed. For the linguist here, tuchus is rear end. They're giving her a shot in a bad tuchus. I said, Perriman, you can't. It's true? True. Anyway, I know I took long, but this was a very tough thing for me to say and do, to be very honest. The only thing that was ever tougher was saying a eulogy at Debbie Crisell's funeral, who was an old patient of mine. All I can say is thank you again, and this is the best Super Bowl weekend I've ever had, and ever will have. I love you all. Thank you.